watching from dreamland. Or maybe Australia. She giggled, clicked the camera off, and rolled onto her pillow. The room settled into silence. Moonlight crept across the floor of the girls' bedroom, striping their blankets pink, blue, and green. Blossom lay upright, still holding an open book about brave heroes. Her eyes blinked slower and slower until the words blurred into dreams. Bubbles hugged Octi tight, sighing a tiny hum of contentment. Buttercup sprawled sideways, snoring into her pillow with one socked foot dangling in midair. The house was quiet, except for the soft hum of the refrigerator below and the ticking of a lab clock somewhere in the basement. The air felt heavier than usual, as though the night itself was holding its breath. In the lab, Professor Utonium paced before his workbench. Beakers glowed with soft pink fumes. Wires slithered across the floor like vines, connecting to a glass dome that pulsed gently, the colors inside swirling pink, blue, and green. His chalkboard was filled with formulas and doodles of stars and hearts. Above everything, written in tidy letters, was a title, Bedtime Story Machine. He adjusted his glasses and murmured, "If stories can help them rest, then dreams made from those stories could help them rest even better." He hesitated, listening to the faint creak of the house. Just one small test, he told himself, turning a silver dial until the machine gave a soft, electronic sigh. The mist inside the dome shivered. Lights rippled through the lab, a low hum deepening into a rhythm almost like breathing. The professor smiled nervously. "Nothing to worry about," he said, though the lights flickered once, twice, before steadying. He crept upstairs, carrying 3 delicate headbands. Each band shimmered in the girl's color. He placed them carefully, pink on Blossom, blue on Bubbles, green on Buttercup. The tiny devices glowed faintly and then connected with invisible strands of light to the machine below. "Sweet dreams, girls," he whispered. "Just dreams full of love and peace." On his monitor, lines of color danced, calm, steady waves that matched their heartbeats. Blossom mumbled something about unicorns signing peace treaties. Bubbles muttered about jelly bean clouds. Buttercup snored. Everything seemed perfect. Down in the lab, a red light blinked once and stopped. He didn't see it. The girls' dream began bright and beautiful. They floated through skies made of cotton candy. Jelly bean mountains sparkled below. Chocolate rivers wound between hills of pink frosting. The air smelled like sugar and laughter. Bubbles twirled and laughed, pointing to singing clouds. Blossom declared that the professor's invention had worked. Buttercup punched a jelly bean boulder just to see what would happen. It burst into glitter. Then the glitter froze in midair. The laughter faded. A faint hiss rose around them. Static, faint, and rhythmic, like a voice hiding in a broken radio. Awake. Awake. The world flickered once, colors draining for a heartbeat before returning. "Did anyone hear that?" Bubbles whispered. "Probably just dream wind," Blossom said, forcing a smile. "Dream wind doesn't talk," Buttercup muttered. A tremor rippled beneath their feet. Candy soil cracked, showing a dark void underneath. Something began to move there, soft at first, then louder, as a shape gathered from shadow and static. It had 2 glowing eyes, a smile that twitched in and out of focus, and a voice that buzzed like electricity. "Dream, want to be real." The girls backed away, unsure whether to fight or flee. "Maybe it's lost," Bubbles said, her voice shaking. "Maybe it wants a bedtime story." "Or maybe it wants to eat us," Buttercup shouted, firing a beam from her eyes, only to have a puff of glowing feathers drift out instead. "What the? My powers don't work." "This is a dream," Blossom said. "Everything's different here." The creature reached toward them. Wherever its misty fingers touched, the color drained away. The pink rivers turned gray. The singing clouds melted into silence. Love, fear, he whispered, all taste the same. Far below, the professor's machine began to sputter. Sparks danced across its coils. He checked the readings, heart racing. That's not right. The dream fields are overlapping. He tried to shut it down, but the control was stuck. The hum deepened, throbbing like a second heartbeat. Shadows stretched along the walls as if the machine were drawing light out of the room. He slammed the emergency switch. Nothing. The hum continued, a deep living sound. I've connected them too strongly, he breathed. Their imaginations are feeding the machine. In the dream, the creature's shapes split into copies, each one whispering in the girl's own voices. Blossom, Bubbles, Buttercup, stay asleep, stay with me. Blossom grabbed her sister's hands. We control the dream, not this thing. If we think happy thoughts, maybe we can fix it, Bubbles said, squeezing tighter. Their combined glow flared, soft but pure. The creatures flinched back, flickering. The air brightened, for an instant returning color to the world. Then everything shook. The dream sky cracked like glass, showing only darkness beyond. The static voice grew louder, almost joyful. Happy, sad. It's all mine now. The girls fell as the world dissolved into shadow. In the lab, the professor shouted their names, pulling at the machine's wires. The heartbeat hum filled the house. Upstairs, the lights in their room flickered pink, blue, and green, then went out. Somewhere between sleep and waking, a single whisper remained. Hi, sleepy cuties. Which country are you watching from now? The darkness pulsed once, then went completely still. Blossom opened her eyes to the soft shimmer of floating lights. For a moment, she forgot where she was. The air tasted like sugar. The ground was made of mist, and everything, clouds, trees, rivers, glowed faintly as if drawn by crayons that had come alive. Is everyone okay? She called. Bubbles peeked out from behind a drifting balloon-shaped tree, her hair full of glittering dust. I think so, but the sky keeps changing colors every time I blink. Buttercup pushed herself out of a puddle of something that looked suspiciously like liquid starlight. Great. First marshmallow lasers, now slippery space goo. The girls looked around. The dream world had shifted from candy brightness into something stranger. Half fairy tale, half science experiment. Floating books fluttered open and closed like birds. Gears and ribbons spun together in the air. The colors pulsed to the rhythm of the girls' thoughts. Remember, Blossom said, steady and logical, this world is being powered by our imagination, and maybe by the professor's machine. If we think clearly, we can shape it. Buttercup clenched a glowing green fist. Then I'm thinking stairs back to Townsville. The mist twisted into stairs that led upward into a swirling sky. For one triumphant moment, she grinned. Then the stairs folded into a slide, and the girls tumbled down, laughing. Okay, Blossom sighed, trying not to smile. Maybe we need teamwork, not brute imagination. As they steadied themselves, a sound echoed, a faint mechanical chime, like a clock counting softly. From the haze, a door appeared. It looked like the professor's lab door, complete with nameplate, but it floated sideways in midair. Bubbles tilted her head. Maybe the professor's trying to talk to us. Or it's a dream trick, Buttercup warned. Still, Blossom reached for the handle. The moment she touched it, a beam of warm light wrapped around them, and they were suddenly standing inside a gigantic version of the lab. The machines were the size of mountains, humming gently. Streams of colored data drifted past like ribbons. Wow, Bubbles whispered. we're inside the story machine. On one of the floating monitors, the professor's face flickered into view, hazy and transparent. "Girls, you can hear me?" His voice crackled. "Listen carefully. Something unexpected happened. Your imagination fields fused together. You need to find the machine's heart and calm it down before the dream overflows." "Overflow?" Buttercup repeated. "You mean like when the blender explodes?" "Exactly that. Only with dreams," the professor said, his image fading in and out. "Follow the rhythm. Your hearts will guide you." The image vanished. The girls stood in silence. Then a faint thumping sound echoed. 3 beats in harmony, like a giant heartbeat matching theirs. Bubbles gasped. "That must be the heart of the machine." They took off into the glowing corridors of the dream lab, following the rhythmic pulse. Each hallway reflected parts of their personalities. Blossom's path shimmered with books and equations. Bubbles with watercolor skies and gentle creatures. Buttercups with glowing emerald lightning. But the paths twisted and overlapped, forcing them to work together. When Blossom calculated a shortcut, Bubbles' imagination filled it with clouds, and Buttercup's courage blasted a way through. Piece by piece, they learned how to shape the world by combining their strengths instead of competing. Finally, they reached a vast chamber. In its center floated the heart of the bedtime story machine, a spinning crystal surrounded by rings of light. Every color of their dreams swirled inside it. "It's beautiful," Bubbles whispered. Blossom studied it. "If the professor was right, we have to stabilize it. Maybe we can balance the colors." Buttercup crossed her arms. "Balance how? It's floating glitter." Blossom smiled. "By feeling the right things, not too wild, not too scared, just together." They joined hands. Their colors, pink, blue, green, flowed into the crystal. The light brightened until it filled the room. For a moment, the machine hummed peacefully, perfectly tuned. Then something tiny popped out from the center, a glowing spark with big eyes and a curious smile. "Hi," it chirped. "I'm the Dream Core. You woke me up." The girls blinked. Bubbles beamed. "You're adorable." The Dream Core floated happily around them, leaving trails of light. "Thanks. I keep the dreams safe. But you made so many at once, I got dizzy." Blossom looked relieved. "So you're not dangerous?" "Only if you forget to dream nicely," it said, giggling. "Now that you found me, you can help fix the rest of the dream world." Buttercup pointed toward the horizon, where faint ripples of gray still spread like storm clouds. "Then let's get started." The Dream Core sparkled. "We'll go together. Follow me to the edges of imagination." As they soared after it through the glowing corridors, the rhythm of the dream pulsed strong and steady again. The girls laughed, their colors blending as they flew. Somewhere far away in the real lab, the professor smiled as the readings calmed. "They're doing it," he murmured. "They're learning to shape their own dreams." The machine purred softly, the lights dimmed to a gentle glow, and for the first time that night, Townsville seemed to breathe again. But high above the dream horizon, a faint shimmer appeared, like a page from a new story waiting to be written. The Powerpuff Girls soared after the Dream Core through the glowing corridors of imagination. Streams of light rippled beneath their feet, shifting with every thought and laugh. The Dream Core zipped ahead, a small orb of light with big eyes and a voice that jingled like a bell. "Keep up," it called cheerfully. "The dream edges are getting wobbly." "Wobbly?" Buttercup asked, speeding beside it. "That doesn't sound good." "It's not bad," said the core, flipping upside down in the air. "It just means some dreams are arguing about what they want to be." Bubbles gasped. "Dreams can argue?" Sure. Someone's dream of a flying puppy might be bumping into someone else's dream of a rocket-powered sandwich. Boom! Puppy sandwich. Buttercup snorted. Now I'm hungry and confused. Blossom shook her head, smiling. Let's just focus on stabilizing things before the dreams mix into something weird. They followed the core out of the lab-shaped dream realm and into open skies once more. But this time, the landscape wasn't candy-colored or calm. It was an odd jumble of ideas. Floating trees made of homework papers drifted beside roller coasters that looped into clouds. A rainbow waterfall poured into an ocean of alphabet soup. Above it all, two suns blinked in and out of sync. Whoa, Bubbles whispered. It's like all our dreams got glued together. More like smashed, Buttercup muttered. Welcome to the edge of imagination, said the core proudly. Every story you've ever dreamed is stored here. But if you don't take care of them... A distant rumble rolled through the air. The ground rippled like liquid glass. They start to melt together. Blossom pointed ahead. Then that's our first mission. Dream Patrol, move out. Buttercup raised an eyebrow. Dream Patrol? Do you have a better name? Buttercup grinned. Nope. Dream Patrol sounds awesome. They dove toward the disturbance, landing on a patch of ground that looked like a checkerboard made of glowing tiles. In the distance, two dream creatures were tangled together, a giant robot made of crayons and a flying cupcake dragon. Each one looked confused, their voices blending into a jumble of words and frosting smoke. Okay, I'll take the cupcake, Buttercup said. You guys deal with the robot. Bubbles giggled. You just want to eat the cupcake. Don't judge me. The girls sprang into action. Buttercup zoomed at the cupcake dragon, dodging blobs of whipped cream it shot like cannonballs. She punched one, poof! It turned into confetti. Blossom circled the robot, analyzing its design. It's built from my old doodles, she realized. I must have dreamed this when I was little. Bubbles floated up beside her. Then maybe if you remember what you wanted it to do, it'll calm down. Blossom closed her eyes and pictured her childhood drawing. A friendly crayon robot that helped with homework and made tea. The robot froze, its glowing eyes softening. Tea time? It said in a deep voice. Its arms folded into teacups, steam rising gently. Perfect. Blossom smiled. Problem solved. Buttercup, now riding the cupcake dragon like a rodeo star, shouted, I'm kind of busy over here. Bubbles zipped over, holding Octi like a microphone. Okay, Cupcake. Time to be sweet, not scary. The dragon blinked, confused. Bubbles sang softly, her voice echoing through the dream. Cupcake dreams are nice and light. No need to roar, just glow tonight. The dragon's frosting stopped bubbling. It yawned, wings folding. Nap time, it murmured, shrinking into a regular-sized cupcake that gently floated down into a plate. Buttercup stared. You sang a monster to sleep? Music makes everything better, Bubbles said, proud. The dream core sparkled above them. Great job, Dream Patrol. That's one tangle untangled. But the celebration was short-lived. The ground quivered again, and above them, the sky twisted into a spiral of colors. A massive cloud formed, a swirling storm of laughter, echoes, and spinning cartoon faces. It roared not in anger, but in chaos. Bubbles tilted her head. Why does it sound like people giggling? That's the giggle storm, the core said, eyes wide. It happens when too many silly dreams collide. It'll keep spreading until everyone in Townsville starts laughing in their sleep. Blossom frowned. That doesn't sound so bad. Until no one wakes up, said the core. If it reaches the real world, people might dream forever. Buttercup cracked her knuckles. Then let's bust that cloud before it gets too big. They flew upward. The storm twisted and laughed, faces appearing in the vapor. Silly, cartoonish, exaggerated versions of their own. Bubbles giggled. That one looks like me. It is you, Buttercup shouted. Don't look at it. It copies our moods. The more they giggled, the bigger the storm grew. Blossom tried to think. We can't fight laughter with power. We have to calm it down. Then what do we use? Buttercup asked. Balance, Blossom said. We remind it what real fun feels like. Joy, not chaos. They joined hands again. Their combined glow expanded, sending waves of calm through the storm. Bubbles' laughter softened, turning musical. Buttercup's energy steadied into rhythm. Blossom's focus anchored them all. Slowly the storm began to fade. The faces dissolved into harmless sparkles that drifted across the dream sky like fireflies. The dream core circled them, clapping tiny, glowing hands. That's it! You're learning to dream together! Bubbles looked at the soft rain of giggles falling around them. It's kind of pretty now. Buttercup caught one sparkle. Guess not every storm needs punching. Blossom smiled. Sometimes you just have to laugh the right way. Down in the real world, the professor studied the machine's readings. The pulse of energy was stabilizing, but faint ripples still flickered across the monitors. He frowned thoughtfully. The system's holding, but the connection isn't closing. Something else is keeping them inside. He leaned closer to the display. For a moment, the screen shimmered, and a faint image appeared. Something round and glowing beside the girls. The dream core, he whispered. But it wasn't in my blueprints. Before he could finish, a surge of color rushed through the machine and the lights dimmed. Back in the dream, the girls hovered above a peaceful sky. The world had calmed, but in the distance, a new shape was forming. A giant golden gate floating in the clouds, engraved with moving patterns. What's that? Bubbles asked softly. The dream core blinked nervously. That's, the gate of forgotten dreams. Buttercup tilted her head. Sounds fancy. What's behind it? The core hesitated. Dreams people stopped having. The ones they forgot. Blossom looked toward the shimmering horizon. Then maybe that's where the real problem started. The core floated closer, lowering its voice. If we go there, we might find the reason the dream world's been so unstable. But it's a dangerous place. Nothing stays the same for long. Buttercup smirked. Sounds like our kind of adventure. The girls looked at one another, nodded, and set their course toward the golden glow. As they flew, their colors trailed behind them. Pink, blue, green, cutting through the silver sky like ribbons of light. The gate loomed ahead, slow and steady, its patterns pulsing in rhythm with their hearts. Behind them, the world shimmered, peaceful for now. Ahead of them, the mystery waited. The three girls in the tiny dream core hovered before the enormous golden gate. It shimmered with patterns that shifted like liquid light, heart, stars, even a few old doodles the girls vaguely recognized. Whoa, Bubbles whispered. It's like every dream we ever had decided to decorate the same door. Buttercup gave the gate a poke. So do we knock, kick, or ring a bell? Before Blossom could answer, the symbols rippled and rearranged into three shapes: a book, a teddy bear, and a lightning bolt. The dream core floated closer. Looks like it's waiting for you three to remember something important. Blossom studied the symbols. Maybe it's testing us. Something from when we were little. Bubbles frowned in concentration. I used to dream that Octi could fly. The teddy bear shape brightened. "Nice," Buttercup said. "Then I guess I dreamed about punching lightning." She grinned. "That counts." The lightning bolt pulsed bright green. Blossom smiled softly. "And I always dreamed of reading every book in Townsville library." The book glowed pink. The gate hummed, spinning open in a swirl of light. Warm wind brushed their faces. The Corps spun excitedly. "You did it. The gate remembers you." They flew inside. The other side looked nothing like the bright dream world they had left. This place felt quiet, gentle, an endless meadow filled with floating fragments of old memories. Broken teacups, lost crayons, faded bubbles, bits of dreams left behind when morning came. Bubbles gasped as she floated past a tiny version of Mojo Jojo made of marshmallows. "Oh, I remember that. I dreamed he was nice and ran an ice cream shop." Buttercup kicked a piece of a broken toy monster. "And I dreamed that villains learned karate from me. Guess that one didn't stick." Blossom glanced around thoughtfully. "The professor once told us that forgotten dreams never really disappear. They just wait to be remembered." The dream core's glow dimmed slightly. "That's true. But when too many stay forgotten, they start to feel lonely. That's when the world gets unstable." "So we're here to remind them they're loved?" Bubbles asked. "Exactly," said the Corps. "But be careful. Some forgotten dreams don't like to be woken too suddenly." A rustling sound spread through the meadow. The air shimmered as shapes rose from the mist. Soft, translucent versions of the girls themselves, younger and smaller, each glowing faintly. The younger Blossom stepped forward, clutching a book almost bigger than she was. "You stopped dreaming about me," she said quietly. Blossom blinked. "I didn't mean to. I just grew up." Little Blossom smiled. "Then maybe growing up can include remembering me, too." She reached out and touched her older self's hand. A wave of light passed through them both, filling the air with tiny sparkles. Next came little Bubbles riding a bubble whale. "I used to draw these every night." Bubbles laughed. "I still hum the song you made up." "Then keep humming," said her smaller self, floating away, leaving a trail of music. Buttercup's younger version crossed her arms. "I dreamed of being the toughest hero ever. You still got that?" Buttercup smirked. "You bet I do." "Good," the younger version said, punching her lightly on the shoulder before dissolving into green sparks. The meadow brightened as all the forgotten pieces started to glow. Cupcakes, stars, tiny robots. They rose into the air, merging into one brilliant current of light that swirled above the girls. The Dream Corps beamed. "You're restoring the balance. Keep going." But suddenly the wind shifted. Some of the light turned gray and heavy. From the far edge of the meadow, something stirred. A faint outline of shadow shaped like the gate itself, cracked and flickering. Blossom narrowed her eyes. "What is that?" The Corps' glow flickered nervously. "The gate's echo. Every dream has its reflection. It collects all the pieces that were never finished." Buttercup clenched her fists. "So basically the leftovers?" "More like unfinished homework," the Corps said. "And it wants to be completed." The echo gate trembled, sending waves of distorted memory across the field. Forgotten toys became storm clouds. Half-drawn doodles grew sharp edges. The sky flickered between day and night. "Okay, Dream Patrol," Blossom shouted. "We got one last mission in here. Fix the forgotten before it fixes us." They sprang into action. Bubbles used her song to calm the flying doodles. Buttercup caught and reshaped the wild lightning bolts into stars. Blossom used her focus to rebuild the fading fragments into stories again. The gray shadow began to thin. As it did, the gate's echo whispered, "Remember me." Blossom hesitated. Maybe it just wants to be part of something. The dream core nodded. Then let's invite it. Together they held out their hands. The echo hesitated, then drifted forward, merging with the light. The meadow exploded in a warm burst of color, pink, blue, green, gold. When the light cleared, the sky was clear again, filled with gentle clouds shaped like open books and smiling faces. Bubbles clapped. "It worked! The gate's happy again." Buttercup gave a satisfied nod. "Team Dream Patrol saves the day again." Blossom turned to the dream core. "Is it stable now?" The core spun in a joyful loop. "More than stable. You brought balance back to imagination. But there's one more step, returning home." "Finally," Buttercup said. "As fun as this is, I miss real breakfast." Bubbles giggled. "And Octi." The dream core's light flickered brighter. "Then follow me one last time." It opened a spiral of light that looked like a soft sunrise. The girls joined hands and flew toward it. As they passed through, the gate closed gently behind them, sealing with a quiet hum. In the real world, the professor jolted as the bedtime story machine's lights brightened and then dimmed to normal. The readings smoothed out completely. Moments later, 3 gentle beeps sounded, and upstairs 3 sleepy voices yawned in unison. The professor ran up and found the girls stretching under their blankets. "Morning already?" Bubbles asked, rubbing her eyes. "Feels like we slept for a week," said Buttercup. Blossom smiled. "Or like we just finished the biggest dream adventure ever." The professor chuckled, relieved. "Maybe it's best if we keep bedtime stories on paper for a while." The girls laughed, hugging him tight. Down in the lab, the bedtime story machine's crystal flickered once more, and the dream core's tiny face appeared inside, smiling. "Sweet dreams, Dream Patrol," it whispered. "Until next time." A few weeks after the Imagination Festival, Townsville had settled back into its cheerful rhythm. No flying cupcakes, no talking clouds, just sunny mornings and the smell of pancakes from the Utonium kitchen. Bubbles hummed while setting the table. "It's kind of quiet now," she said. "I almost miss the singing lampposts." Buttercup laughed. "Yeah, until one of them tried to rap with me at 3 a.m. Blossom smiled. "Normal's nice, but I do wonder what the professor's been building down there." They looked toward the basement door. For days, faint clanks and whirs had come from below, mixed with the professor's muffled muttering. At last, the door swung open, and he stepped out, covered in chalk dust and smiling ear to ear. "Girls," he said proudly, "may I present?" He gestured grandly toward a wheeled cart draped in a purple cloth. "The Dream Recorder 2.0. Buttercup groaned. "Another machine?" "Don't worry," the professor said, lifting the cloth. Beneath it stood a small heart-shaped crystal resting inside a metal ring. Gentle light pulsed from within, soft as a heartbeat. "This one doesn't create dreams," he explained. "It listens. It keeps the good ones safe, then turns them into bedtime stories for everyone." Bubbles' eyes sparkled. "So we can share dreams now?" "Exactly," said the professor. "Science learned something from imagination." That evening, they held a little test. The girls snuggled on the couch while the professor set the recorder in the middle of the room. The crystal glowed brighter and began to play faint sounds, giggles, music, and tiny images floating in the air. Townsville Park full of colors, citizens daydreaming together, even the tiny dream core spinning joyfully. "It remembers everything," Blossom whispered. The professor nodded. "Every bit of kindness you brought back from the dream world." Buttercup looked a little embarrassed. We just punched and sang at some weird stuff. Maybe, the professor said gently. But you also proved that imagination's strongest when it's shared. The crystal shimmered and began to hum a gentle lullaby. Bubbles yawned. It's playing our dream as a song. Then let's listen, Blossom said, leaning against her sisters. Outside, Townsville slowed into night. Streetlights glowed steady gold. Somewhere, a child dreamed of flying with the Powerpuff Girl, and the recorder softly caught the sound, a new story waiting for morning. Down in the lab, a faint twinkle appeared beside the machine. The dream core peeked out, now tiny as a firefly. "Hiya, Dream Patrol," it whispered. "Still keeping the stories safe?" Blossom opened one sleepy eye. "Always." The core giggled, circling once before vanishing into the crystal. The professor turned off the lights. "Good night, girls." "Good night, Professor," they murmured together. As the house settled, the crystal's light formed a small projection on the wall, 3 silhouettes flying across a starry sky, leaving trails of pink, blue, and green. The picture faded slowly, like the end of a bedtime story. And in every home across Townsville, the same gentle glow appeared for a moment. A reminder from the Dream Recorder 2.0 that imagination was still humming quietly in the hearts of everyone who dreamed. It started like any other bright morning in Townsville. The sun rose, birds chirped, and somewhere downtown the mayor was already yelling, "Miss Bellum, where's my coffee?" Up on the hill, in the cheerful Utonium household, the Powerpuff Girls were already halfway through breakfast. Bubbles hummed as she stirred syrup into her orange juice. Buttercup was racing the toaster to see who could pop first, and Blossom read the day's schedule out loud. "Crime fighting at 9, science project at noon, and bedtime by 8, she announced, tapping her pencil. "Perfectly balanced." But then the professor yawned. It wasn't an ordinary yawn. It rolled through the kitchen like a breeze, slow, soft, and strangely heavy. The girls felt it too, a sudden wave of drowsiness. Bubbles blinked. "Wow. Did breakfast get extra cozy?" Buttercup frowned. "Weird. I slept fine. Why do my eyes feel like marshmallows?" Blossom rubbed her forehead. "Maybe we stayed up too late reading again." They didn't notice the quiet ripple spreading across the window, a faint shimmer in the air like invisible mist. Outside, a mailman paused mid-step, yawned deeply, and sat down right on the sidewalk. A pigeon perched on his hat yawned too and promptly fell asleep. By the time the girls finished breakfast, Townsville was unusually quiet. No car horns, no barking dogs, no explosions, not even Mojo Jojo's usual morning monologue from the rooftops. Bubbles peered out the window. Guys, everyone's napping." Sure enough, the streets below looked peaceful, too peaceful. The mayor was asleep at a crosswalk, clutching his pickle jar like a teddy bear. Miss Bellum sat beside him, gently snoring. A bus driver leaned on the horn in his sleep, making one long, steady note. Blossom's eyes widened. "Something's wrong. This isn't just tiredness, it's a spell." Buttercup cracked her knuckles. "Then whoever cast it is gonna need a wake-up call." They zipped through the city, checking every corner. Every single person, even the villains, was fast asleep. Mojo was curled up in his lair, mumbling about bananas. The Gangrene gang snored in a tangled heap at the park. Even the talking dog had stopped mid-sentence and was dream-barking softly. Bubbles landed beside the sleeping kitten and whispered, "Oh, even the little ones." Blossom scanned the sky. "Whatever this is, it's covering the whole city." The professor, watching through his lab monitor, called them back. "Girls, I've been analyzing the airwaves. There's a strange energy frequency, almost like dream particles." "Dream particles?" Bubbles repeated. "Yes," said the professor. "It's as though everyone in Townsville has fallen into the same dream. If that's true, you three might be the only ones awake enough to fix it." Buttercup grinned. "Then we just go into the dream and kick it till it stops." The professor chuckled nervously. "It's not quite that simple, Buttercup. You can't punch a dream, but you can travel into one." He held up 3 glowing headbands, pink, blue, and green. "I designed these after the bedtime story experiment. They'll let you safely enter the shared dream space." Blossom took hers carefully. "We'll go in, find out who or what caused this, and wake everyone up." Bubbles tightened hers. "Like dream detectives." Buttercup smirked. "Dream Patrol, round 2. They lay down on the couch side by side as the professor adjusted the controls. "Ready?" he asked. "Ready," they chorused. The lights dimmed, the headbands glowed, and a soft hum filled the room. For a moment, everything went still. Then color spilled through the air like paint dropped into water. The girls felt themselves floating, weightless. The world melted away into something bright, warm, and endless. Bubbles opened her eyes first. "Whoa! Are we flying or dreaming?" "Both," Blossom said, looking around. They hovered above an enormous version of Townsville, soft and glowing, like a painting come alive. The clouds were cotton candy, the streets shimmered like mirrors, and somewhere far below, dream versions of everyone they knew wandered through fields of light. Buttercup pointed ahead. "Look, there's the mayor riding a giant pickle." Bubbles giggled. "And Mojo's, selling banana balloons." Blossom folded her arms. "Okay, so we're definitely in a dream, but who's controlling it?" Before anyone could answer, a voice drifted through the air, soft and echoing, like a lullaby sung backward. "Sleep. Townsville must sleep." The clouds darkened for an instant, then cleared again. Bubbles shivered. "That doesn't sound friendly." Blossom frowned. "Then our mission's clear. Find that voice and wake the city up." The girls linked hands, glowing brighter, and soared across the dream sky as the city of sleeping souls shimmered below. Far behind them, unseen, a pair of silver eyes watched from the horizon, humming the same strange lullaby. The dream sky rippled like water as the Powerpuff Girls flew over it. Everywhere below them, Townsville glimmered half familiar, half impossible. Buildings swayed slightly as if breathing. Streets looped in circles that didn't quite end. Each window showed someone's dream playing out like a cartoon in motion. Bubbles pointed. "Look, the bakery's giving out infinite cupcakes." Buttercup smirked. "Yeah, and they probably taste like pillows." Blossom hovered higher. "Remember, this isn't real. Every dream here belongs to someone asleep back home." They touched down near the park. The grass was blue and the swings swung themselves. The mayor drifted by on his giant pickle again, cheerfully asleep. "Pickles for everyone. Dream pickles," he mumbled. Buttercup poked the dream pickle with her boot. It squeaked and floated away. "Okay," she said. "We're officially in the weird zone." Blossom took out a tiny dream scanner the professor had attached to her headband. "It's reading massive sleep energy," she said. "Like a heartbeat under the city." "Maybe that's where the spell started," Bubbles whispered. "Dream citizens. They wandered through Dream Townsville. Mojo Jojo sold floating bananas to a line of giggling penguins. The talking dog stood on a soapbox giving a speech to clouds that nodded politely. And at the candy store, Miss Bellum calmly handed out lollipops the size of cars, smiling in her sleep. "Everyone's happy here," Bubbles said softly. "Maybe they don't want to wake up." "That's what makes spells tricky," Blossom replied. "Good dreams can trap you." A sleepy rumble rolled under their feet. The building shivered not in fear, but as though they'd sighed. Then the sky dimmed for a second, and the same lullaby whispered through the wind again. "Dreams are safe. Dreams are sweet. Stay asleep till the spell's complete." Buttercup clenched her fists. "That voice again?" They looked around, but only sparkles of silver dust floated by. When one landed on Blossom's hand, she saw a tiny reflection, a silver mask smiling faintly. The sleep shepherd. The dust swirled together and took shape. A tall, gentle figure in a robe of clouds, eyes glowing silver. "Oh, hello, dreamers," the voice said, echoing softly. "I am the sleep shepherd. You must rest." Blossom floated forward carefully. "Everyone in Townsville is trapped in this dream. We're here to wake them." The figure tilted its head. "Wake them? Why? In dreams, no one argues, no one fights, no one cries. Isn't that peace?" Bubbles blinked. "But if no one wakes up, who feeds the kittens?" The sleep shepherd paused, genuinely puzzled. "Kittens?" Buttercup crossed her arms. "Yeah, you might keep folks comfy, but real life needs awake people." For a moment, the dream shimmered uneasily. Then the shepherd sighed, voice soft as rain. "I do not wish them harm. I only sang the spell to help them rest. The waking world hurt too much." Blossom's scanner blinked rapidly. "He's telling the truth, but his magic's grown out of control." The shepherd raised one hand, and suddenly the dream began to swirl faster. Buildings melting into rivers of light, clouds closing in. "If you will not rest," he murmured, "then you must learn why sleep matters." The ground beneath the girls dissolved into mist, and they fell slowly, like feathers into another layer of the dream. The layers below. They landed in a quieter place. Everything looked like Townsville, but underwater. Colors blurred, sounds muffled. Memory fragments floated by kids playing, laughter, storms, and celebrations. "This must be everyone's shared memories," Blossom said. Bubbles gasped. "Look, that's us." A scene shimmered ahead, the girls saving the city from a giant snail, only now in soft pastel colors. Buttercup squinted. "Okay. That's flattering, but kinda creepy." Then the dream flickered again and the memory froze. Dark ripples spread from its center, erasing color. Blossom's scanner beeped wildly. Corruption detected, the spells breaking the good dreams apart. "Translation," Buttercup said. "Time to punch some nightmare energy." The girls powered up, their glow pushing back the shadows. Wherever they flew, the dull gray dream patches turned bright again. Citizens stirred slightly in their sleep back in the real world. A baby smiled, the mayor muttered, "Pickles," and a puppy wagged its tail. "It's working!" Bubbles cried. But far above them, the sleep shepherd watched, clutching his staff of starlight. "They will wake too soon," he whispered to the clouds. "The spell must hold a little longer." The Powerpuff Girls looked up as a storm of silver feathers began to fall, each whispering a lullaby. Blossom narrowed her eyes. "Looks like the next dream layer wants to test us." Bubbles held her sister's hands. "Then we'll dream together too, but our way." They lifted off again, streaks of pink, blue, and green cutting through the silver storm, heading deeper toward the heart of the dream spell. The dream storm cleared, leaving behind a glowing landscape that shimmered like a bubble, bright colors bending, sky rippling in all directions. The Powerpuff Girls hovered in silence, blinking at what they saw. They weren't in Dream Townsville anymore. Now they stood in something stranger, a world made of their own memories. The Utonium house stood nearby, surrounded by floating toys, drawings, and homework papers that drifted like leaves. A paper airplane bumped Blossom's shoulder. She opened it and read in her own childhood handwriting, "When I grow up, I'll be the best leader ever." Buttercup rolled her eyes. "Wow, you've been bossy since day one." Blossom smiled faintly. "I called it leadership, thank you." Bubbles giggled and pointed toward a cloud shaped like Octi. "Look, my first toy." Octi floated down, blinking his button eyes. "Hello, Bubbles," he said softly. Buttercup looked around more cautiously. "So the spell's using our old dreams now? That's not fair play." Blossom frowned. "Maybe it's testing us. The sleep shepherds said we needed to understand sleep before we could wake everyone up." Echoes of the past. The dream sky above them rippled again, and scenes began to play like movie reels projected in midair. They saw themselves learning to fly, laughing with the professor, saving the city for the first time. But each image had something slightly off, edges too bright, smiles too long, shadows too still. Blossom floated closer. "These are supposed to be happy dreams, but they're stuck." Bubbles nodded slowly, like the dream doesn't want to end. A tiny voice echoed from the clouds, "Because happy dreams shouldn't end." The girls turned. A miniature version of themselves stood before them, 3 little dream clones glowing faintly. Each one looked about half their size, faces soft and childlike. Dream Blossom said gently, "You promised to always stay this happy. Why did you grow up?" Dream Buttercup crossed her tiny arms. "And why did you stop having fun fighting bad guys?" Dream Bubbles hugged her Octi tight. "And why do you wake up so soon?" Bubbles blinked in surprise. "They're, us." Blossom whispered, "Our own old dream selves." The 3 little dream versions circled them like friendly ghosts. "You don't need to fix the dream," Dream Blossom said. "You can live here forever. No rules, no mistakes." Buttercup cracked a grin. "Tempting. But I kind of like the part where we actually win for real." Bubbles nodded. "And where we can hug the professor for real." Blossom looked at her smaller self. "Dreams are beautiful because they end. That's what makes us want to wake up and make them come true." Her tiny version frowned. "Then prove it." The dream challenge. The air shimmered. Suddenly the dream versions of the girls glowed brighter, transforming into luminous versions of their younger selves, still small, but fast and sparkly like living fireworks. Dream Blossom's voice echoed. "Show us that waking up can be as strong as dreaming." Before they could answer, the dream versions darted into the sky, sending waves of colorful dream energy across the world. The ground broke into floating islands of memory, one shaped like the professor's lab, another like the schoolyard, another like the sky full of villains from their earliest adventures. "Looks like a power test," Buttercup said, grinning. "Finally something I can punch." They launched upward. Blossom used her logic and quick planning to steady the drifting dream islands. Bubbles used her voice to sing the dream versions calm, the melody bright and honest. Buttercup used her power to punch away storm clouds that threatened to trap them again. Every move brought color back to the dream. The 3 smaller dream versions began to glow softer, smiles warming. "You really have grown," Dream Blossom said. Dream Bubbles sniffled. "Can we still dream about you?" "Always," Bubbles said, hugging her tiny self. The dream world brightened. All three small versions turned into light, merging back into the girls' hearts. The sky shimmered gold. A calm breeze swept through, carrying the faint sound of the sleep shepherd's voice again. You begin to understand, but the city still sleeps. Come deeper, where the oldest dream waits. Blossom looked at her sisters. He's right. The spell's core is still ahead. Buttercup cracked her knuckles. Then we go deeper. Bubbles smiled. One more dream to save, then everyone gets pancakes. The girls joined hands again, glowing brighter than ever, and dove downward through clouds of light, toward the oldest dream that held Townsville trapped. The light around them thinned until it felt like dawn under deep water. When the Powerpuff Girls finally landed, everything was still. No color, no sound, only a faint heartbeat pulsing through the mist. Blossom steadied her flight. This is it. The core. Bubbles' voice was small. It feels lonely. Buttercup nodded. Yeah, like somebody's missing breakfast forever. They walked forward until shapes began to form. Walls, shelves, half-finished inventions, a table with cold pancakes. Bubbles gasped. This looks like home. Blossom looked around carefully. The professor's lab. The room glowed softly, as if remembering. Beakers floated in the air, sketches shimmered on invisible chalkboards. In the center stood a familiar figure, asleep on his desk. Professor Utonium. The sleeping professor. Bubbles flew closer. Professor, wake up! No answer. Only steady breathing and a faint smile. Blossom's scanner blinked pale blue. The dream energy's strongest here. He's the source. Buttercup frowned. You mean he did this? Not on purpose, Blossom said. He must have been caught in his own dream while studying the sleep waves. They looked around the dream lab again. Everything shimmered with memory. The day he created them, their first bedtime story. The moment he tucked them in and whispered, "Sleep tight, my girls." Bubbles touched the air. The memory replayed like a film. The professor's voice, warm and tired, echoed through the mist. If I could keep them safe and happy forever, I would. Buttercup exhaled. He wished the world would never hurt us again. Blossom lowered her head. That wish became the spell. Inside the dream. Suddenly, dream machines around the lab whirred to life. Holograms of Townsville flickered, everyone smiling, always safe, always asleep. A gentle voice, half the professor's, half the shepherd's, whispered, "If they never wake, they'll never be sad. That's what a father dreams." Bubbles wiped her eyes. "But we have to wake him, or everyone stays trapped." Buttercup stepped forward. "Then let's do what we do best. Remind him we're tougher than naps." Blossom hesitated. "No, if we just shock him awake, the whole dream could collapse. We have to reach him. Show him it's okay to let go." They joined hands, and a soft glow spread between them. Pink, blue, and green blending into gold. Bubbles whispered into the air, "Professor, we're okay." Buttercup added, "We fight, we fall, but we always get up." Blossom said firmly, "You don't need to keep us asleep to keep us safe." The dream lab trembled. Walls of light cracked, showing glimpses of the real Townsville, the park, the school, the sky waiting for sunrise. The heart of the spell. The professor's eyes fluttered open inside the dream. He looked around, confused but smiling when he saw them. "Girls, is it morning already?" Blossom smiled gently. "Almost. You've been dreaming, Professor, and so has everyone else." He frowned. I wanted to give you peace. No danger, no pain." Bubbles hugged him. "But we already have peace. When when you believe in us." Buttercup crossed her arms, fighting tears. "Yeah, and maybe a little chaos. We like it that way." The professor chuckled softly. "Of course you do." The dream around them began to dissolve into golden mist. The sleep shepherd appeared one last time, bowing. "The father's dream is undone. The city will wake." Blossom looked at him kindly. "Thank you for guiding us. But maybe next time, let people nap the normal way." He smiled faintly. "Even dreams learn. Awakening." Light flooded the scene. The girls felt themselves rising. Through clouds, through color, through the hum of 1,000 people beginning to stir. When their eyes opened, they were back on the couch. Morning sunlight streamed through the window. From outside came the sounds of yawns, laughter, and the mayor shouting, "Miss Bellum, cancel the nap schedule." The professor rubbed his eyes, confused but awake. "What happened? Did I fall asleep at my desk again?" Blossom smiled. "Only for a whole city's worth of time." Bubbles handed him coffee. "With extra sugar, dream-proof." Buttercup stretched. "Mission complete." They all laughed, the kind of laugh that comes after a long nap and a big relief. Townsville woke up to the strangest morning it had ever seen. Not because of monsters or mayhem, but because everyone felt like they had just come back from the same nap, one filled with sparkly, half-remembered dreams. Down on Main Street, people yawned, stretched, and started telling each other the same story. "I dreamed of flying," said the mailman. "I dreamed the mayor gave everyone free pickles," said Miss Bellum. "I dreamed we all laughed together," said a little boy. The mayor scratched his head, still holding a jar. "Wait, that part might have been real." Morning at the Utonium house. In the Utonium household, the girls helped the professor clean up his lab. Broken wires, scribbled notes, and one suspiciously glowing coffee cup were scattered everywhere. Bubbles balanced a stack of papers. "Professor, are you feeling okay?" He smiled sheepishly, a bit embarrassed. "Imagine me putting the whole city to sleep." Buttercup grinned. "Hey, at least it was peaceful chaos this time." Blossom nodded. "And we learned something 2 dreams can teach just as much as science." The professor looked at them fondly. "You're right. Maybe both work best together." He flipped a switch, and the leftover dream energy in the lab swirled into a glass jar glowing like soft moonlight. "This," he said, "is what's left of the sleep spell. Harmless now, but maybe it could be useful." Bubbles' eyes sparkled. "Can we keep it as a nightlight?" Buttercup chuckled. "As long as it doesn't start singing again." Townsville's dreamy day. Outside, Townsville was more cheerful than ever. Kids played in the park, artists painted clouds shaped like candy, and the talking dog gave a speech titled, "What I Learned from My Nap." Even villains seemed affected. Mojo Jojo was seen donating bananas to the zoo for purposes of banana-based reconciliation. The Gangrene Gang tried to start a dream gym that mostly turned into napping practice. And Fuzzy Lumpkins? He was still asleep on his porch, smiling happily. Buttercup watched from above. "You think they'll stay this nice?" Blossom shrugged. "Probably not forever. But it's good to see the city resting in a good way for once." Bubbles pointed to a group of kids lying on the grass, cloud-gazing. "They're sharing dream stories now." A little magic left. That evening, the girls gathered on the roof. The sky was clear, and tiny specks of dreamlight still floated like fireflies, harmless echoes of the spell. Bubbles caught one and held it close. It shimmered into a picture of them flying through Dream Townsville. "Hey, look. It remembers us." Blossom smiled. "Maybe dreams remember the people who believe in them." Buttercup smirked. "Or Or maybe we're just that awesome. The professor stepped out with mugs of cocoa. I've been studying these dream echoes, he said. They react to kindness whenever someone in Townsville laughs or helps another person. They glow brighter. So the dream didn't really end, Bubbles said softly. Blossom nodded. It just woke up with us. They sat together, sipping cocoa, watching the dream lights drift higher into the stars. As night fell, the city twinkled with ordinary lights and a few extraordinary ones. Somewhere a baby giggled in its sleep, and a tiny spark of the dream floated up from the window. The talking dog yawned and whispered, "Sweet dreams, Townsville." Buttercup leaned back, eyes half closed. "You know I don't hate nap time anymore." Bubbles yawned. "Me neither. I might even dream about pancakes." Blossom smiled. "Then we'll meet there." The professor chuckled. "Just don't oversleep, girls. Tomorrow's another bright, awake day." They laughed, snuggled closer, and watched the last dream light fade into the stars. For the first time in a long while, Townsville slept, but only just enough. Morning came bright and easy. The air over Townsville sparkled faintly, like the sky still remembered something magical. Down in the Utonium lab, the professor was humming while wiring a small machine no bigger than a toaster. The Powerpuff Girls hovered nearby, curious. Bubbles leaned closer. "Is it another dream thingy?" The professor smiled. "In a way. I call it the dream resonator. It doesn't make people sleep. It helps them remember the good parts of their dreams when they wake." Buttercup crossed her arms. "So, basically, a happiness recycler." "Exactly," the professor said proudly. "A safe one." Blossom read the data screen. "You're connecting it to the city's radio towers?" "Only to broadcast gentle dream energy," he explained. "Enough to inspire, not to hypnotize. I thought Townsville deserved a little reminder that imagination belongs in daylight, too." The festival idea. Upstairs, the girls watched the people of Townsville go about their day, smiling, chatting, more patient than usual. Bubbles gasped. "Everyone's still glowing from the dream." Blossom's eyes lit up. "Then let's give them a way to celebrate it." Buttercup grinned. "A party?" "No," Blossom said, smiling. "A festival. A day of dreams." Within hours, flyers fluttered across town. "The Day of Dreams tonight at Townsville Park. Bring art, song, stories, or snacks inspired by your dreams." The mayor loved the idea immediately. "Do we dream of pickles? We certainly do." Citizens set up booths, musicians tuned instruments, and kids painted colorful clouds on big sheets. Evening in the park. By sunset, the park shimmered with lanterns made of recycled dream jars, each glowing softly with leftover dream energy the professor had safely collected. The girls floated over the crowd, helping set up the final touches. Bubbles released a handful of dream lights that danced like fireflies. Buttercup built a small stage from picnic tables for awesome rock and roll dreams only. Blossom organized a story corner where children could tell their dreams aloud. When night finally settled, the dream resonator hummed gently. Its light spread through the park like a soft breeze. And nobody fell asleep. Instead, they felt a warm buzz of inspiration, the feeling that maybe anything was possible if they imagined it first. Dream stories. One by one, citizens stepped up to share. The mayor told his great pickle rescue dream. Miss Bellum described flying above Townsville, watching everyone laugh together. The talking dog recited a poem called A Nap with Purpose. Even Mojo Jojo appeared, under polite police supervision. He adjusted his helmet and muttered, "In my dream, I was good." I did not steal bananas. Bananas were freely shared. It was confusing, but pleasant. The crowd cheered anyway. Buttercup elbowed Blossom. Maybe there's hope for him after all. Blossom smiled. Dreams have a funny way of showing people who they could be. One last light. As the festival wound down, the professor joined the girls on stage. He held the dream resonator high. This, he said, is powered by a single memory. The dream of 3 brave girls who refused to sleep through life. Tonight, that dream belongs to all of Townsville. He pressed the final switch. A wave of color spread through the park. Soft pink, blue, and green painting the night sky with swirling ribbons of light. Everyone gasped. The light slowly formed 3 streaks crossing the heavens, just like the Powerpuff Girls flying together. Bubbles whispered, "It's our dream, but awake." Buttercup smirked. "Now that's a light show." Blossom smiled softly. Proof that imagination never really sleeps. Good night, Townsville. Later, when the park emptied, the girls sat with the professor on a blanket, sipping cocoa again. The dream lights drifted higher, fading into stars. Bubbles yawned. "Do you think the sleep shepherd's still out there?" Blossom looked toward the glowing sky. "Maybe. Watching over the world, making sure we rest when we need to." Buttercup stretched. "Long as he gives me weekends off." They all laughed. The professor tucked the dream resonator safely under his arm. "Time for bed, girls." Bubbles grinned. "After all this, I think I'll dream about pancakes again." Buttercup added, "And victory." Blossom finished. "And tomorrow." The night breeze carried their laughter across Townsville, mingling with the last shimmer of dream light. And somewhere above, a soft voice, maybe real, maybe just memory, whispered, "Sleep well, heroes. You've earned your dreams." It was one of those unusually quiet nights in Townsville. No sirens, no monsters, no loud crashes from Mojo Jojo's lab, only the hum of streetlights and the silver shimmer of stars above. Inside the Utonium house, Bubbles couldn't sleep. She sat by the window with her favorite box of crayons, doodling on a notepad under the moonlight. Blossom and Buttercup were fast asleep, but Bubbles' eyes sparkled with restless imagination. "Maybe I'll draw the stars," she whispered to herself. She picked a pale blue crayon and began sketching circles and tiny glimmers. But as soon as she pressed it to the paper, the crayon gave a soft pulse of light. Bubbles blinked. "Huh? Did I, imagine that?" She tried another one. The yellow crayon. It glowed brighter, a soft gold spreading from the paper, curling up toward the ceiling like a ribbon of sunshine. The first color. The light didn't stop there. It slipped out the window, stretching across the night sky. Bubbles gasped. "Oh, wow." Above the city, a faint golden line shimmered, turning the stars warmer and more alive than ever before. They twinkled almost as if winking back at her. Bubbles giggled. "You like it? I can add more." She opened the whole box, reds, greens, pinks, purples, and began to draw faster, her crayons glowing one by one. Each color that touched the paper floated away into the night, weaving through the constellations until the sky became a canvas of color and light. For a moment, everything felt perfect. The whisper of colors. Then something strange happened. The wind outside grew soft but steady, like a whisper. The crayons shimmered again, but now the glow deepened, richer, almost alive. From each color came a faint sound, laughter, music, gentle voices overlapping. Bubbles tilted her head. "Hello? Is someone there?" The voices were faint, like echoes of memories. When she held up the pink crayon, she heard Giggle's children playing in a park. The green one hummed like wind or trees. The blue one sang a lullaby she didn't remember learning. Her smile faded just a little. Where are these coming from? Stars that remember. She stepped out onto the balcony. The sky above wasn't just colorful, it was moving. The stars rippled like reflections on water, forming faint shapes, faces, places, moments that looked almost like dreams. Bubbles could see a memory floating there, her and her sisters flying above Townsville. Then another, the professor reading them a bedtime story. But farther away, deeper in the colors, were memories she didn't recognize, other children, other nights, drawings that weren't hers. She hugged her crayons. Did I borrow someone else's colors? One of the stars pulsed brighter as if answering. And for just a second, the blue crayon whispered again, clear this time. Keep drawing, little one. We remember you. Bubbles froze. Wait. What? The sky breathed back. The stars flickered faster, spreading the colors wider, pink, gold, violet, and green flowing like rivers through space. Down below, sleeping Townsville began to glow faintly in those same hues. The wind picked up, whispering through the trees. Blossom stirred in her bed. Buttercup muttered something about pancakes. Bubbles watched the sky swirl above her, half amazed, half uncertain. Her crayons trembled in her hand, glowing stronger now, almost too bright to hold. I didn't mean to, she said softly. I just wanted to make it pretty. And then, as the night deepened, one star blinked. Not a twinkle, but a blink, slow and watching. The sky seemed to exhale and the lights bent down toward her window. Bubbles clutched her crayons tighter. Okay, she whispered to herself, a voice tiny but brave. If you're alive up there, please be friendly. The stars shimmered, not answering, not threatening, just waiting. And in that moment, Bubbles realized she might not be painting the stars anymore. The stars might be painting back. Morning sunlight crept through the curtains, brushing over Bubbles' sleepy face. She yawned, rubbed her eyes, and froze. Her sketchbook was still open on the floor, every page glowing faintly with color. The crayons rested beside it, lined up neatly as if they'd put themselves to bed. Bubbles blinked. Okay, that's not creepy, that's cute, right? Blossom appeared in the doorway, hair perfectly brushed, already holding a clipboard. Bubbles, why does the entire sky look like a rainbow through a party last night? Buttercup, still half asleep, stumbled in behind her. And why is it talking? I swear I heard giggling clouds. Bubbles bit her lip. I might have decorated the sky a little. The sky remembers. The girls flew outside and gasped. The sky above Townsville was still glowing faintly in layers of soft color. Gold melted into violet, streaks of blue curled through clouds like watercolor veins. And faint music lullabies, laughter, whispers drifted down from the stars. Blossom looked at her scanner. Energy traces everywhere. But it's gentle. Buttercup squinted. Yeah, gentle like a ticklish ghost. Bubbles clutched her crayon box. They talked to me, Bloss. The colors, they said, they remember me. Blossom frowned thoughtfully. Maybe they're made of dream energy. The kind that stores emotions or memories. Bubbles gasped. So every color is a memory? Buttercup shrugged. Then we better figure out whose memories before they start drawing back. The first story. That night the girls spread out a picnic blanket on the hill overlooking Townsville. The sky was glowing again softly this time, waiting. Bubbles placed her crayons in a circle. Let's ask nicely, she said. Buttercup crossed her arms. You mean talk to art supplies? Magic art supplies, Blossom corrected, adjusting her ribbon. Bubbles picked up the red crayon and whispered, "Hi again. Do you want to tell us your story?" The crayon shimmered. A spark leapt out, forming a ribbon of red light that spiraled into the air. Within it appeared a memory. A little girl drawing hearts on a wall, humming happily. Bubbles smiled wide. "Ah, she's sweet." The memory shifted. The girl waved goodbye to her drawing, then faded into the stars. Blossom nodded. That must be the emotion trapped in the color love, maybe. Buttercup tilted her head. So every color in that box is someone's feeling? Someone's dream, Blossom said softly. And somehow they found Bubbles. When the colors call back. Bubbles couldn't stop watching the sky. Each star seemed brighter now, pulsing with quiet energy. She whispered, "If you all have stories, I'll help you tell them." The crayons began to glow again, all of them this time. The light wrapped around her like a soft wind, lifting her hair, her eyes wide with awe. Bloss," Buttercup said nervously. "They're moving again." Before Blossom could answer, streaks of color burst upward, forming shapes, animals, people, laughter, a giant mural across the heavens. Bubbles' voice trembled. "They're happy." But then, the last color, a silvery gray crayon she hadn't noticed before, started glowing too. Its light wasn't warm or bright. It was cold, quiet, almost lonely. The gray spread slowly through the other colors, dimming them one by one. Bubbles reached for it. "Wait, don't be sad." The crayon flickered, and a voice soft and distant whispered through the wind. "We remember the color that was lost," Bubbles gasped. "Lost? What color?" But the light faded before she could ask again. "The promise." The girls stared at the sky, now patchy with fading color. Blossom folded her arms. "Something's missing. That gray energy. It's searching for something." Buttercup clenched her fists. "And I'm betting it's not looking for hugs." Bubbles held the crayon close. "Maybe it just needs help like the others." Blossom smiled softly. "Then that's what we'll do. We'll find the missing color." Buttercup cracked her knuckles. "Team mission, Operation Rainbow Rescue." Bubbles giggled. "Yay! I knew my art would be an adventure." The girls clasped hands. Above them, one faint star flickered silver, waiting, watching. And as the night breeze passed through, it carried a quiet whisper only Bubbles could hear. "When the last color returns, the sky will sing again." She looked up, heart glowing. "Then I'll make sure it does." The next morning, Townsville glimmered faintly under soft pastel skies. People pointed upward as they walked to work. The stars were still visible, twinkling even in daylight. The professor sipped his coffee and frowned thoughtfully. "Curious? Daytime starlight? That's scientifically impossible. Or artistically spectacular." In the living room, the girls gathered around the glowing box of crayons. Blossom adjusted her glasses. "The gray one's the key. We need to figure out where it came from." Bubbles nodded, tracing the silver-gray crayon with her finger. It was warm, like it had a heartbeat. Buttercup leaned closer. "And if it starts whispering again, I'm dunking it in cocoa." Bubbles smiled faintly. "It won't hurt us. I think it's lonely." The search begins. They started at the source, the art store where the crayons were bought. Inside, shelves gleamed with bright, ordinary colors. The shopkeeper, an older lady with sparkly glasses, smiled. "Ah, those special edition star crayons? Only one box ever came in. You're the lucky owner." Bubbles tilted her head. "Do you know who made them?" The woman tapped her chin. The order slip just said Aurora Inc. No address, no phone number. Mysterious, isn't it? Blossom jotted it down. We'll look into that name. Buttercup whispered to Bubbles, "If this turns into a haunted art supply story, I'm out." Bubbles giggled. Maybe it's a magical art supply story. The color that didn't exist. Back at home, Blossom searched her data archives. No record of any Aurora Ink Company, she said. It's like it never existed. The gray crayon rolled across the table by itself and stopped in front of Bubbles. She blinked. "You want me to draw?" The crayon glowed softly, yes. Bubbles picked up her sketchbook and drew a single line, silver and smooth. As she lifted the crayon, the line shimmered and slowly widened into an image. The girls leaned in. It was a painting of a night sky, and in the center, a star larger and brighter than any other. Then, just as they watched, that star dimmed, fading to gray. Bubbles whispered, "It's the lost color." Blossom's voice was quiet. Maybe the star used to shine, but something happened to it. Buttercup frowned. "So how do we fix a sad star?" The message in the light. That night, Bubbles sat on the windowsill, crayons spread before her. The sky looked paler than before. The colors she'd painted were slowly draining, as though the missing hue was pulling their light away. Bubbles whispered to the stars, "I can help. Just show me where you are." The silver crayon shimmered, brightening until the whole room glowed. Blossom and Buttercup rushed in just as a beam of silver light shot upward, carving a shape among the stars, a spiral leading toward a single faint twinkle deep in space. Blossom gasped, "That's not a constellation. It's a map." Bubbles' eyes sparkled. "Then that's where we'll go." Buttercup cracked her knuckles. "Star adventure. Finally, something fun." Journey to the sky. The professor, ever the inventor, quickly adapted his flight pod for upper atmosphere exploration. "Girls," he said, "stay close together. Dream energy like this can affect perception. What you see might not be entirely real." Bubbles hugged him. "We'll be careful, Professor." Moments later, 3 bright streaks, pink, blue, and green, rose into the night sky, following the spiral of light. As they ascended, the air shimmered with fragments of color, laughter, music, memories swirling around them. Bubbles reached out. Each fragment showed someone's dream, a child imagining they could fly, a mother singing, a painter smiling at a sunrise. Blossom watched in awe. They're echoes of people's happiest moments. Buttercup grinned. "Looks like you started a cosmic art gallery, Bubbles." Bubbles smiled. "Then let's find the missing piece. The edge of the constellation." At the top of the spiral, they reached the faint twinkle from the drawing. It wasn't a star, it was a small, glowing sphere, cracked and fading. Inside it flickered tiny swirls of gray light, soft and tired. Bubbles floated closer. "Hello? Are you the lost color?" A whisper, faint but kind, replied, "I was once the color between colors, the shade that held them together." Blossom's voice softened. "You mean you're what makes the others shine?" "Yes," said the whisper. "But when the world forgot to rest, when nights grew too bright, I faded. I was no longer needed." Bubbles' eyes shimmered. "That's not true. Night needs gentle colors, too. You're what makes dreams calm." The gray light pulsed once, uncertain, and began to fade again. A promise in silver. Bubbles hugged the crayon close and spoke softly. "You belong with the others. If you're the color between colors, then you're part of every story." She began to draw in mid-air lines of silver, connecting the fading sphere to the colorful stars she'd painted nights ago. Blossom and Buttercup joined in, helping guide the streams of color together. Slowly, the silver spread through the sky like delicate threads weaving between the hues, softening their edges, making them glow even brighter. The lost color whispered, "You remember me." Bubbles smiled through tears. Always. And with that, the gray turned radiant. No longer dull, but shimmering silver, and the stars bloomed with life. The sky restored. Townsville looked up as the heavens rippled with living color, brighter than fireworks. Children pointed, adults gasped, and the professor adjusted his glasses, whispering, "Incredible." The stars sang softly. Not words, just harmony, and for one long, beautiful moment, the night was painted with every shade of love, laughter, and peace. Bubbles whispered to her sisters, "See? Even quiet colors have stories to tell." Blossom nodded. "And you gave them a voice." Buttercup smiled. "Our little artist just fixed the whole sky." The stars twinkled back as if saying thank you. Morning sunlight spilled across Townsville in ribbons of color. Windows glimmered pink for a second before fading back to gold. Every puddle held a reflection of the night sky Bubbles had painted. At breakfast, the professor tapped his newspaper. "Girls, the weather report lists partly artistic skies with a chance of inspiration. How do they even measure that?" Buttercup grinned. "By how many people start singing on the way to work." Bubbles giggled. "Then today's gonna be a 10-song day." Townsville wakes in color. All through the city, people felt different. The baker decorated cupcakes like tiny galaxies. The bus driver hummed a tune that matched the swirl of pink clouds. Even Mojo Jojo, while plotting, paused to admire how shiny his helmet looked in the rainbow sunrise. Blossom hovered above the park. "It's like everyone's dreaming while awake." Bubbles twirled in the air. The stars remembered them. Buttercup pointed at a group of kids painting a mural on the playground wall. "Looks like you started an art revolution, Bubbles." The gift of the crayons. That evening, the girls and the professor returned to the hill where everything began. The crayon box shimmered faintly. When Bubbles opened it, each stick of color floated upward, leaving a soft trail of light. The gray, now silver crayon spoke in a tone like wind through chimes. "Our stories are told. Now the colors belong to every heart that dreams." The crayons dissolved into sparkling dust, scattering across the sky like a million tiny stars. Bubbles reached out. "Goodbye, and thank you." Blossom smiled. "They're not gone, Bubbles. They just moved in with the universe." Buttercup smirked. "Yeah, cosmic roommates. Hope they like noise. Dreams come to life." Over the next days, little miracles began to appear. Children's chalk drawings glowed faintly at night. Street musicians found that their songs made tiny sparks dance in the air. The Townsville Art Museum reported paintings that hum softly when no one's looking. When reporters asked who started it, everyone said the same thing. A little girl who loves to draw and believe. Bubbles blushed every time she heard it. She told the professor, "It wasn't just me. It was everyone's dreams together." He smiled. "That's how real art works, dear. It listens." A sky worth keeping. One quiet night, the girls sat on their rooftop again. The stars above shimmered in every hue imaginable. Still painted, but calm now. Bubbles whispered, "Do you think they'll ever fade?" Blossom answered, "Only if we forget to look up." Buttercup nudged her. "Not happening. I've got the best view in town." They clinked mugs of cocoa together and watched a new constellation form, a tiny trio of glowing hearts. Bubbles smiled. Looks like the sky is saying thank you. Blossom nodded. And we're saying goodnight. Buttercup grinned. Until the next masterpiece. Above them, the colors shimmered softly, breathing with the rhythm of the city below, proof that imagination, once shared, never truly fades. A week had passed since the stars learned to shimmer in every hue. Townsville had settled into a gentle rhythm of daytime laughter and quiet, glowing nights. But something new began to happen. Whenever people laughed together, tiny sparks of color lifted into the air like giggles that had learned to fly. Bubbles noticed it first while walking home from school. Two children sharing an ice cream cone started laughing, and a bright swirl of peach and lavender floated from them, drifting upward. Bubbles gasped. The colors are listening again. Townsville glows together. By evening, the whole city twinkled. Lanterns weren't needed. Every rooftop shimmered with soft light from people's happy thoughts. The mayor declared, "Tonight we shall have a glow parade. No marching bands required, just good moods." Bubbles darted through the streets, painting gentle arcs of light above the floats, with the last silver dust that clung to her fingertips. Blossom handled organization, making sure traffic, safety, and sparkle levels were scientifically optimal. Buttercup handled enthusiasm, launching fireworks that bloomed into heart-shaped bursts of color. Children waved glowing balloons, musicians strummed guitars that sparkled with rhythm, and the talking dog narrated, "Behold Townsville, the city that dreamed itself awake. A dance of colors." When the parade reached the park, the stars seemed to lean closer. Colors poured from the sky like ribbons, swirling around everyone's movements. No one led. The music simply happened. Footsteps, laughter, and clapping mixing into a rhythm the stars seemed to follow. Bubbles spun in the center of the crowd, her blue eyes wide with joy. Each time she twirled, a trail of color followed her, blue, pink, gold, and silver. The trails met, joined, and began to spiral upward until the entire park became a whirlpool of lights. Blossom smiled. "She's conducting the sky." Buttercup laughed. "Figures. Our sister turns a block party into a constellation." The silver threads Bubbles had once drawn reappeared, weaving through the sky, connecting every person's glow into one shared pattern, like a living painting. The heartbeat of the city. The professor watched from the hill, hand over his heart. He whispered, "It's like seeing everyone's kindness made visible." The music swelled, and suddenly, the lights above formed three bright streaks, pink, blue, and green, dancing together across the heavens. The crowd gasped. Bubbles called out, laughing, "Come on, everyone! The stars are dancing with us!" And for a few precious minutes, Townsville did. Children, parents, heroes, even the villains who had snuck out just to watch, all moving beneath a sky alive with color. When the lights faded, as the night deepened, the colors began to drift upward again, returning to their places among the stars. No one felt sad. Instead, the air filled with quiet gratitude. Bubbles looked up. "They're going home." Blossom nodded. "And they're taking tonight with them, so someone, somewhere can dream it again." Buttercup smirked. "Good. Let the universe remember how awesome we looked." The final ribbons of light coiled into the shape of a heart, pulsing once before fading. The promise of tomorrow. Later, back on their rooftop, the girls shared one last cocoa. The city below twinkled softly, calm and content. Bubbles rested her chin on her knees. "Do you think it'll ever happen again?" Blossom smiled. "Whenever people share happiness, the colors will come back. They're part of us now." Buttercup stretched. Then Townsville's in good hands and good moods. Above them, the stars flickered in a slow rhythm, like breathing. For just a moment, 3 streaks of color crossed the sky, pink, blue, green, dancing together one more time before fading into dawn. Morning drifted over Townsville like a quiet sigh after a song. The sky looked almost normal again. Blue, soft, peaceful, yet there was still something new hiding in the light. If you looked carefully, the air itself seemed to hum, like a memory trying to stay. The professor brewed cocoa instead of coffee and smiled as the girls padded into the kitchen. "Sleep well, my little astronomers?" Blossom nodded. "Like a planet in orbit?" Buttercup stretched. "Still glowing, though. Look, Bubbles' hair has sparkles." Bubbles blushed. Tiny motes of silver still danced in her curls. "I guess a few stars wanted to stay." A tiny glow inside. At school, everything felt different. The classroom plants grew toward Bubbles as if sensing the shimmer in her presence. When she drew in art class, the colors looked ordinary at first, then shimmered for half a heartbeat before settling down again. Miss Keene noticed. "That's lovely work, Bubbles. How do you make your skies look so alive?" Bubbles smiled shyly. "I just remember them." When recess came, she sat beneath a tree and opened her sketchbook. Inside, tucked between pages, lay the faint outline of the silver crayon, no longer solid, just a ghost of light. She traced it with one finger. "Thank you," whispered a voice softer than a sigh. "Keep dreaming for us." Bubbles smiled. "I promise." Townsville's gentle change. In the weeks that followed, people began doing small, kind things without knowing why. Strangers helped each other cross the street. Artists painted brighter murals. Children looked at the stars before bed and swore they saw faces smiling back. Blossom noticed patterns. "It's like the city's learning to dream on its own." Buttercup grinned. "About time. We've been babysitting the imagination supply long enough." Bubbles giggled. "No, it's perfect. Everyone's painting their own sky now. Even Mojo Jojo, caught trying to steal glow-in-the-dark paint, paused mid-scheme and muttered, 'It is difficult to be evil when everything sparkles so peacefully.'" The night of the quiet sky. One evening, when the world seemed calm, Bubbles floated to her rooftop alone. The stars were gentle tonight. No parades, no fireworks, just quiet warmth. She whispered, "You're still here, aren't you?" A tiny silver flicker pulsed near her heart, glowing through her dress. Blossom appeared beside her. "You kept one of the colors?" Bubbles nodded. It didn't want to leave. Buttercup joined them, handing out mugs of cocoa. "Then I guess you're part of the constellation." They sat together, watching their reflections in the glass windows of Townsville, 3 sisters framed by a sky they'd helped paint. The secret of the silver light. Later, when Bubbles lay in bed, the light near her heart glowed softly. Not bright, not fading, just alive. She realized it wasn't a leftover from the stars, it was what they'd all created together. Every giggle, every helping hand, every time someone believed in beauty. The light pulsed once and settled. She closed her eyes, whispering, "Good night, my color." Outside, the moon drifted through a halo of silver. From far above, the stars seemed to hum again, softly answering, "Good night, little artist. Paint us again when the world forgets." Epilogue. Tomorrow's sky. The next morning, Townsville woke beneath the clearest blue anyone had ever seen. A single streak of silver crossed it. Faint but steady, not a plane, not a comet, just a reminder. Buttercup squinted. "That you doing again, Bubbles?" Bubbles smiled. Maybe. Maybe it's everyone's. Blossom adjusted her bow. Then the world's in good hands. The three girls flew off toward another adventure, leaving a glimmering trail behind them, pink, blue, green, and at its center, a heartbeat of silver that would never fade. It was one of those nights when Townsville never quite fell asleep. Neon lights buzzed, cars hummed, and even the breeze seemed too restless to rest. Inside the professor's lab, glowing screens blinked, while delicate glass beakers shimmered. Blossom sat at the table, eyes fixed on her notes, her pencil moving faster than her breathing. She muttered formulas to herself, checking and rechecking them. Her sisters were long in bed. Buttercup's soft snores drifted down the hall, and Bubbles had left tiny doodles of stars taped to the fridge. Only Blossom was still awake, chasing perfection. Then, the lights flickered. For a moment, the lab went dark, except for one warm, orange gleam that hadn't been there before. On the far shelf, a candle had appeared. Its small flame swayed like a heartbeat, steady and alive. Blossom frowned. I didn't light that. She approached slowly, half curious, half cautious. The wax was pale pink, the kind she might have chosen herself, and the scent was faintly like vanilla mixed with morning rain. A tag hung from the wick, written delicate silver ink. For the moments you forget to breathe. Blossom's brow furrowed. What does that mean? The candle's whisper. She lifted the candle and the room changed. The hum of machines softened. The ticking clock slowed until each second sounded like a sigh. It wasn't silence, it was peace, though it felt strange, like stepping into water too still to ripple. Blossom whispered, "Hello?" The flame leaned toward her, a faint motion like a nod. She almost laughed at herself. Great, Blossom. Now you're talking to home decor. Still, the calm was nice. For the first time that week, her shoulders dropped. Her mind stopped racing. She placed the candle beside her notes. The formula she'd been wrestling with a moment ago looked easier now, the numbers gliding together. The strange stillness. But as minutes passed, Blossom noticed something odd. The candle's light didn't just stay in the lab, it crept outward. Shadows along the walls stretched long and graceful, moving like waves. The entire house seemed to exhale. Down the hall, Buttercup stirred in her sleep, murmuring contently. Bubbles rolled over and smiled in a dream. Outside, even the noisy street grew quiet, the hum of engines dimming to nothing. Blossom blinked. Is everyone asleep? The flame flickered once, bright, then steady again. She touched the glass rim, feeling warmth hum beneath her fingers. A calm deeper than drowsiness pressed around her, soft, heavy, endless. Into the candlelight. The walls of the lab began to shimmer. The air smelled of fresh rain and candle wax. Blossom felt the pull of it gentle, not frightening, yet impossible to ignore. Her eyelids fluttered. The flame grew larger, filling her vision with gold and rose hues. Then, like a sigh through her mind, she heard a voice. You rush through every heartbeat, little leader. Come sit where time slows. She tried to answer, but her voice came out as a breath. The floor softened beneath her feet, and suddenly she was standing in a vast space of quiet light, an endless room where floating candles drifted like stars. Each candle burned with a different glow, blue for dreams, green for courage, and silver for thought. In the center stood one flame, tall and steady, the same warm orange as hers. Blossom stepped forward, whispering, "Where am I?" The flame pulsed. "In the calm, you forgot." And with that, the gentle world of candles breathed around her, slow, rhythmic, serene. The world Blossom had stepped into didn't have edges. It was light, not bright, but softly glowing, like the moment between dusk and dream. The ground beneath her wasn't solid. It rippled gently, reflecting the flicker of countless candles floating in the air around her. Each candle swayed in its own rhythm, and their flames whispered in tiny breaths. If she listened carefully, she could almost hear words, fragments of sighs, quiet laughter, echoes of someone's rest. Blossom turned in slow circles. "Where am I?" she said again, her voice smaller than she expected. The orange candle, the one from her lab, hovered just ahead of her, its flame rising and bowing as if beckoning. She took a cautious step forward. Her boots made no sound. Even her heartbeat felt quieter here, like it was learning to whisper. The hall of stillness. She followed the candle through drifting corridors of light. At first, everything looked peaceful. But the deeper she went, the slower things became so slow that drops of wax falling from a candle froze midair, hanging like pearls. Time itself seemed to hold its breath. Blossom frowned. "Okay, this is scientifically fascinating, but weird." She waved her hand through one frozen drop of wax. It rippled like water and glowed against her skin. As she moved forward, faint shapes appeared inside the light. People sitting, eyes closed, surrounded by flickering halos. They weren't asleep. They looked paused, caught in the moment between thought and silence. Blossom hesitated. Are they, dreaming? The orange flame brightened, and a voice brushed her mind. They are remembering how to rest. She stepped closer to one figure, an old woman, peaceful and smiling. The candlelight wrapped around her like a blanket. Blossom whispered, "This place, it keeps everyone calm." "Yes," the flame replied, "but not all can stay. Calm is a lesson, not a cage." The mirror of movement. Blossom walked on. She noticed that her reflection shimmered faintly in the golden air, but it didn't match her movements. When she lifted her hand, the reflection hesitated before following, slower, more graceful. It was her, but different. Softer, serene, not commanding or rushing. The reflection smiled. Blossom blinked. "Did you just—" Before she could finish, the reflection stepped out of the golden surface. It stood in front of her, same pink bow, same steady eyes, but glowing faintly from within. The second Blossom spoke first, voice smooth as candlelight. "You run even when you stand still." Blossom frowned. "You're me?" "I'm the part of you that breathes between plans." Blossom crossed her arms. "I do breathe. Barely." The calm Blossom smiled kindly. She reached out a hand, touched the flame, and see. The orange candle drifted closer, its light pulsing in time with the Blossom's heart. She hesitated. For someone like her who led every mission, solved every puzzle, fixed every crisis, standing still felt scarier than facing a villain. The lesson of the flame. Blossom took a breath and touched the light. Warmth surged through her fingers, not burning, not blinding, just infinite. The world around her melted into flowing colors, peach, gold, rose, and she could see every moment she'd ever rushed past. The times she'd ignored a sunset because she was calculating. The times she'd scolded bubbles for daydreaming. The times she'd stayed awake long after everyone else, trying to perfect what was already good. Each memory floated past her, bathed in gentle light. "You carry too many clocks," said the calm Blossom, her voice surrounding her. "Even a leader must rest, or the world will move faster than her heart." The warmth spread up Blossom's arms across her chest until her pulse slowed to the rhythm of a steady flame. For the first time in years, she felt the world without needing to manage it. The silence wasn't empty, it was full. The shadow of noise. But as she grew still, something else stirred far in the distance, a low vibration, faint but sharp, like static under music. The candles around her flickered uneasily. Blossom opened her eyes. "What's that?" The orange flame dimmed slightly. "The noise that lives outside calm. It follows those who forget it exists." The sound swelled, a distant roar, not evil, but urgent, like 1,000 ticking clocks waking up. The peaceful air trembled. Blossom looked to her reflection, who only smiled. You cannot escape noise. You can only choose how to meet it. The flame brightened again, wrapping her in warmth. Remember, Blossom, calm isn't the absence of chaos. It's the place inside you that stays still while everything else moves. The roar faded into a long exhale. The candles steadied once more. The reflection stepped back into the light, leaving Blossom alone, stronger, slower, at peace. When she opened her eyes, she was back in the lab. The candle still flickered on the table, its wax barely melted. Her notes were waiting the same equations, the same problems, but she no longer felt the rush to solve them. She smiled softly. "Okay," she whispered. "Let's take this one breath at a time." The candle's flame shimmered, as if nodding. Outside, dawn began to rise over Townsville, calm, clear, and new. Morning rose bright and restless over Townsville. The wind was sharp, clouds fast, and the streets louder than usual. Delivery trucks honked, people shouted across crosswalks, and the air itself seemed to hum like too many radios playing at once. Blossom floated above the city, scanning for trouble. Below her, cars tangled at intersections, alarms blared, and somewhere downtown, a villain's voice echoed through a megaphone. Buttercup darted beside her, fists ready. "Mojo Jojo's at it again. He's turned every clock tower into a ticking noise bomb." Bubbles fluttered up behind them, hugging a sleepy Octi. "He says the city's too quiet and needs more rhythm." Blossom took a deep breath. The sound really was overwhelming, every tick, every clang, every horn blending into one endless, dizzying pulse. Her sisters looked at her, waiting for orders. But instead of shouting a plan, Blossom closed her eyes. The calm within. The warmth from the candle still glowed faintly in her heart, a steady pulse under the noise. She let her breath slow, just as the candle world had taught her. Buttercup blinked. Bloss, now's not really a nap time?" Blossom smiled calmly. "Not a nap, just listening." She opened her eyes, and something changed. The chaos around her seemed to stretch, as if time had softened. Each sound still existed, but she could see the spaces between them, the rhythm hiding in the storm. She turned to her sisters. "Don't fight the noise. Match it. Redirect it." Bubbles tilted her head. "Like music?" "Exactly. The melody of motion." They flew together into the city center. Mojo Jojo stood on top of a skyscraper, waving his arms over a ridiculous machine made of drum cymbals and alarm clocks. "Behold, the sonic chaos multiplier. It will—" "Mojo," Blossom said gently, her voice calm but clear, "you've already said that 5 times. He blinked. I have? Wait, I have." The machine behind him sputtered, confused by the shift in tone. Blossom raised her hand, and the girls began to move, not to attack, but in a flowing pattern. Bubbles sent sound bubbles toward each tower, catching the tick-tick-ticks like soap bubbles catching rain. Buttercup spun through them, turning the captured noise into rhythmic booms that echoed in perfect time. The chaotic pulse transformed from noise into harmony. The whole city began to hum along. Sirens turned into bass notes, traffic horns softened into brass, and the frantic air calmed into a single, steady beat. Mojo blinked, his helmet reflecting the new rhythm. What is this? This is catchy? Blossom smiled faintly. Peace can have a tempo too. The eye of the storm. But as they floated there, something new happened. The sky darkened not from clouds, but from motion. The energy of the noise had gathered into a massive swirl over the city, shimmering like a storm made of sound waves. Buttercup clenched her fists. Round 2. Blossom shook her head. No, just breathe. She hovered higher, closing her eyes again. The candle's whisper returned in her mind. The world trembles. When it forgets its rhythm, you must be its heartbeat. She lifted her hands, palms outward. The glow from her chest spread into the air, rippling outward in concentric waves of calm light. The sound storm buckled. Each wave of calm met a wave of chaos and slowed it. The roars became echoes, the echoes became sighs, and soon the sky fell silent. Then, like the gentle exhale after thunder, sunlight broke through. The lesson. Mojo. Jojo stood frozen, clutching his broken megaphone. Buttercup crossed her arms. I still think more noise is the answer. Mojo sighed. Perhaps not. The girls touched down on the now quiet street. Bubbles spun once, giggling softly. That was beautiful. Like a lullaby for the whole city. Blossom smiled, though her eyes were thoughtful. It wasn't just me. The calm was already here. I just reminded everyone where to find it. The professor arrived moments later, worried but proud. He hugged them all and said, Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is take a breath. Blossom blushed. I'm finally learning that. Nightfall again. That evening, back at home, Blossom placed the candle on her windowsill. Its flame flickered softly, matching the rhythm of her heart. She whispered, Thank you. And in reply, the flame wavered, just once as if to say, Always. Down the hall, Bubbles hummed a bedtime tune while Buttercup grumbled about needing earplugs. The city slept peacefully below, wrapped in the echo of calm that Blossom had left behind. The candle glowed on, steady and bright proof that even the busiest heart can learn the lay that night. The sky over Townsville was velvet dark, moonless, still. Inside the professor's house, the only light came from a single candle on Blossom's desk. She had promised herself just a few minutes to write in her journal before bed, but her pencil moved in careful patterns that didn't want to stop. Today was calm, she wrote, and that feels new, but I can already hear tomorrow hurrying toward me. The flame flickered as if it heard her. It leaned sideways, stretching her shadow long across the wall. Whispers in the light. At first, Blossom thought it was a trick of the air vent. Then her shadow moved again, but not quite with her. It tilted its head at a slower rhythm, as if listening to something deeper. Blossom sat up. Okay, she whispered. Lesson learned. Candle magic is still happening. The flame trembled. Her shadow folded its hands and spoke, its voice softer than paper turning. You calm others. Who calms you? Blossom froze. She almost laughed, but the question hit a place she didn't expect. Her whole life had been about control, plans, leadership, saving the day. Calm was something she gave, not something she kept. I guess I haven't thought about that, she murmured. Then think, said the shadow kindly. That's what the silence is for. The mirror room. The candlelight expanded until it filled the entire room. Walls dissolved, and Blossom stood in a vast mirror chamber made of still water and glass. Every reflection of her looked a little different, each carrying a different expression: focus, pride, worry, fatigue, hope. One by one they spoke. You plan everything. You never let anyone see you slow down. You love peace, but you don't rest inside it. Their voices overlapped until they became a slow echo, almost musical. Blossom clutched her ribbon. Stop, please. But the reflections only whispered, rest is not weakness. Her heart fluttered, the same nervous rhythm that had once driven her to stay awake solving endless equations. Then she remembered the candle's warmth, that steady pulse that had quieted the world. She took a breath, then another. The echoes faded. The reflections smiled and sank back into the glass, the heart of stillness. When the light dimmed, only one figure remained, the calm Blossom she had met before. She stepped forward, her glow softer now, almost human. Perfection isn't peace, the calm one said. Peace is letting yourself be unfinished and still shining anyway. Blossom closed her eyes. She let the silence fill her without trying to shape it. For a long moment, there was nothing but breath and heartbeat. When she opened her eyes, the mirror room had become a sunrise. The calm Blossom touched her shoulder and dissolved into light. Blossom woke at her desk. The candle had burned low. A curl of smoke rose like a final sigh. On the table lay her journal, open to a new line written in silver ink she didn't remember making. Even the wind has to stop to listen. She smiled. Outside, the first sunlight painted the city in gentle gold. She could already hear her sisters downstairs, Buttercup clattering bowls, Bubbles humming softly. For once, Blossom didn't rush to join them. She sat still long enough to feel her own pulse match the rhythm of the waking world. That day, she moved slower but noticed more. The warmth of the mug in her hands, the way light slid across the kitchen tiles, the quiet giggle when Bubbles found extra marshmallows. Every moment felt new, not because the world had changed, but because she had learned to pause inside it. Oh, age of stillness. The morning began quietly, almost too quietly. Blossom floated over Townsville, scanning the streets below. Everything looked peaceful. Cars moved smoothly, birds sang, even Mojo's usual yelling was replaced by the faint hum of an ice cream truck. For once, there were no alarms, no crashes, no chaos. Bubbles joined her, carrying a basket of crayons and cookies. Everyone's being so nice today, she said, her voice sparkling. Even the pigeons are sharing. Buttercup flew up beside them, scowling slightly. Yeah, that's what worries me. Blossom smiled. Maybe peace isn't scary. Maybe it's just new. But deep down, she felt it too, a stillness that wasn't natural. It wasn't the soft quiet of calm. It was the heavy kind, like the air before a storm. The whispering wind. The girls landed in Townsville Park. Children sat on the grass, staring blankly ahead. Squirrels froze in the trees, unmoving. Even the fountain's water hung in midair, caught mid-splash. Bubbles whispered, "It's beautiful, but weird." Buttercup kicked a pebble. It didn't even bounce. "It's wrong." Blossom closed her eyes and reached inward. The warmth of the candle still flickered faintly in her chest, but now it was dim, muffled, as if smothered by a blanket. A breeze brushed her cheek and carried a faint voice. "You wanted silence. Now it has come." Blossom spun around. "Who's there?" From the shadow of an oak tree, a figure stepped forward, tall, pale, with eyes that shimmered like candle smoke. Its voice was smooth and echoing, the kind that sounds inside your head more than in your ears. "I am the keeper of quiet," it said. "You've opened the path to peace, and I've come to finish what you began." The keeper's gift. The keeper raised a translucent hand, and the world fell completely silent. No heartbeat. No breath. Not even thoughts seemed to make sound anymore. Blossom tried to call to her sisters, but her words made no noise. Bubbles' mouth moved, eyes wide with fear. Buttercup's fists glowed green with fury, but even the air around her refused to tremble. The keeper walked closer, calm as mist. Noise brings pain. Conflict brings sorrow. Why not erase them all? Blossom shook her head, trying to speak, trying to move, but everything slowed. Her heartbeat was a faint drum somewhere far away. The keeper leaned close, its face expressionless but not cruel. "You wanted calm, true calm. Let me give it to you forever." And for a moment, Blossom almost wanted to accept. The peace was so total, so deep. It felt like sinking into a warm sea and never needing to rise again. The candles returned. But then she saw something move. A bubble. Small, glowing blue, floating upward from Bubbles' hands. Even in silence, it shimmered like laughter trapped in light. Then another green, stubborn and shaking from Buttercup. Blossom smiled faintly. Their bond, their love, their life was louder than any noise. She reached into her chest and felt the faint spark of the candle still burning. Even the wind has to stop to listen, she remembered. She let the silence fill her, not to drown, but to breathe within it. Then she exhaled. The spark burst into light, and the candle's warmth poured out through her heart, her voice, her very breath. Sound returned as a whisper, then a hum, then a rush of wind and laughter and motion. The keeper staggered back, startled. "Impossible," it murmured. "You broke the stillness." Blossom's eyes glowed like twin flames. "No," she said softly. "I made it breathe." The harmony restored. The silence shattered like glass, not into chaos, but into balance. Children began to laugh again. Leaves rustled. The fountain splashed freely. Bubbles twirled in joy. "It's back! Everything's back!" Buttercup grinned. "And we didn't even have to punch it." The keeper looked around uncertain. Its pale eyes softened. Perhaps peace must move to stay alive. Blossom nodded gently. Stillness isn't the end of sound. It's what gives sound meaning. The keeper smiled faintly, bowed its head, and faded into the air, leaving only a faint echo. "Then may your calm always sing." The heartbeat of Townsville. That evening, the girls flew over the city again. The sounds of life drifted up: laughter, chatter, music. A barking dog, a mother calling her children in for dinner. It wasn't perfect. It was alive. Blossom looked at her sisters and smiled. "Do you hear it?" Bubbles cocked her head. "The city?" "No," Blossom said. "The rhythm." And in that moment, even Buttercup heard it. The steady pulse of a world breathing together. Townsville was quiet again, but this time, it was the right kind of quiet. Not empty full. Full of laughter under the surface, footsteps on sidewalks, and the gentle hum of life moving at its own rhythm. The sun dipped low, painting the sky in a blush of gold and pink. From the window of the professor's house, Blossom watched the colors melt together like watercolor on calm water. The candle still sat on her desk, its flame small, steady, almost sleepy. She felt it watching her, or maybe it was waiting. The professor's words. "Blossom?" The professor's voice came from behind her, soft and fatherly. He entered holding a tray with tea and honey. "You've been very thoughtful lately. Everything all right?" Blossom smiled. "Better than all right. I'm learning to slow down." He set the tray down and chuckled. "That's harder than saving the city, isn't it?" She nodded. "Sometimes. Quiet can be scarier than monsters." The professor looked at the candle. "You know, when I was your age, I used to light candles when I felt lost. I thought they gave me answers, but one day I realized they only reflected what was already inside me." Blossom looked at him, eyes wide. "Inside you?" He nodded. "The calm, the light. It was there all along." Then he kissed her forehead gently and left the room. Blossom stared at the flickering flame. "So, you're my reflection too, huh?" The final flicker. The candle wavered, as if agreeing. Then the flame began to shrink. Blossom gasped and reached out, but a whisper touched her thoughts. "Don't be afraid to let go." The candle's light dimmed further, its warmth melting into the air around her. The room grew darker, but not cold. It felt like a heartbeat moving from one place to another. The glow left the candle and flowed into her chest, bright and weightless, like sunlight sinking into water. For a moment, Blossom felt everything. Every heartbeat in Townsville. Every laugh, every sigh, every whisper of wind through leaves. It all pulsed together, the calm rhythm of a world in balance. She placed her hand over her heart. "It's you," she whispered. "You never left. The dream of light." That night, Blossom dreamed again. She was standing in the candle world, but now there were no floating lights, no frozen people, no mirror reflections. Only a vast horizon filled with gentle dawn. From far away, she heard voices, her sisters laughing, the professor humming, the city breathing. The calm Blossom appeared once more, her glow faint and fading. "You've learned what calm really means," she said. "It isn't silence, it's harmony." Blossom nodded. "I know now. I don't need the candle anymore." The calm version smiled, and as she faded, she whispered, "You are the candle." The morning after. Sunlight spilled across Blossom's face as she woke. The candle on her desk had melted completely. Only a small puddle of wax remained, shaped like a heart. Downstairs, she could already hear Bubbles giggling and Buttercup teasing the professor about his secret pancake recipe. Blossom took a slow breath and smiled. She didn't rush to fix her bow. She didn't hurry down the stairs. She just listened. The sound of her sisters laughing, the birds outside, the kettle whistling, it all formed a soft rhythm, and she was perfectly in time with it. The lesson. Later that day, when the Powerpuff Girls flew across the city to answer a small call for help, Blossom led them, but differently now. No shouting, no overplanning. Just a calm, clear heart guiding her every move. Buttercup noticed first. "You're quiet today." Blossom smiled. "I'm listening." Bubbles beamed. "You sound like the wind." Blossom looked at the sky, the sunlight reflecting in her eyes like tiny flames. "Maybe," she said softly, "but even the wind knows when to rest." And high above Townsville, for one shining moment, it felt like the whole city paused to breathe with her together in perfect calm. Epilogue. The Everlight. That night, the professor found a faint glow on Blossom's desk. The candle was gone, but a tiny spark still floated there, bright, gentle, alive. It flickered once, then faded into the air, leaving the faint scent of honey and warmth. From somewhere beyond, a voice, Blossom's own voice, whispered, "Calm isn't a flame. It's the light that never burns out." And as Townsville slept, The stars above seem to shine just a little steadier. Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup fly high above the skyline. Their trails shimmer pink, blue, and green against the setting sun. Below them, the city hums busy but balanced. The air is warm, the wind slow, the sound of laughter echoing from every neighborhood. Buttercup stretches her arms. Feels weird, huh? Everything's quiet, but not creepy this time. Bubbles giggles. It's like the city's breathing with us. Blossom smiles softly, her bow fluttering in the wind. That's because it is. She looks down, remembering the candle's gentle flame, the whisper of calm that never really left her. Suddenly, a shimmer appears in the sky, a faint orange light flickering between the clouds. Bubbles gasps. Look, the candle's light. Blossom's eyes